Time plan for network management practices. Visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks drifted to a mixed close on Wall Street, holding onto most of the gains they made earlier in the week after the U.S. and China declared a temporary ceasefire in their trade war. The S&P 500 edged up 0.1%. Most stocks in the index lost ground, but solid gains for several heavyweight technology companies like NVIDIA helped pull the index higher. The Dow fell 0.2%, and the Nasdaq Composite rose 0.7%. American Eagle Outfitters sank 6.4%. That's after becoming the latest company to pull its financial forecast. The Dow was down 89 points to close at 42,051. The Nasdaq gained 136 to 19,146. The S&P 500 up 6 points to 58.92. With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Not cooling down too much this evening. Muggy conditions, a low of 67. Tomorrow we're warmer. The blend of sunshine and clouds and a high up to 89. And for Friday, mostly cloudy, a high all the way to 92. For the weekend, mostly cloudy again. 20% chance we get rain Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your R Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome into Sports Talk Media Network on this Wednesday night. Good to have you with us. We hope you had a great day. It's only going to get better for the next 2 hours as we talk sports about the important things here in South Carolina and hear from some important people. MJ Ward is here with us tonight to talk about the PGA. He's on his way to Charlotte for the PGA, made a stop here in the Midlands area at a couple of golf courses he'll tell us about. He was down at Old Barnwell, for example, and so we'll have him here in studio coming up at the bottom of the hour. Also, we'll hear from USC baseball coach Paul Maneri, who met with the media today and kind of set the stage for the series with LSU that begins tomorrow night. Last regular season series for the Gamecocks, last home games for the Gamecocks this season. He's obviously well aware that the only way they make the NCAA tournament is to win the SEC tournament next week in Hoover, and that's practically impossible to run the table with this particular team. It's practically impossible. He did say that Ethan Petrie is highly questionable for LSU. He was not feeling so good today after playing last night, surprisingly going back in the lineup last night. You give the Gamecocks credit, Chris Bergen. They were down 5-1 in the eighth. Mm-hmm. They were getting handled. They could have just mailed it in the way the season's going, but somehow, some way, they dug their way out. There was an error that went in their favor by Winthrop. They had some timely hits. They put a 5-run rally together, and they got a rare victory. Well, not a rare victory in the midweek or against Q3 and Q4 teams. They've been really good in that area. So a win nonetheless to get them back above 500. He will start Crowther tomorrow night and McCoy on Friday, and then probably SQ on Saturday, the way things stand right now. But the number one team in the country, LSU, coming in. They got great arms. They got great offense, et cetera, et cetera. They're number one.
And Michael Braswell.
Still got Michael Braswell, number one. And, of course, he has strong ties to Baton Rouge and LSU from his 15 years there. Won a national championship with the Tigers. So that'll be an interesting couple of games here coming up for South Carolina and LSU. And then at 7:30, Coach Gary Gilmore, going to catch up with him probably one final time. You know, this is the first year for him away from baseball. So I thought we'd catch up with him, see how he's feeling, see what he's done as far as watching baseball around the state and around the country, and what he thinks of the state of college baseball as he looks at it from afar now. He's looking over the fence. He's sneaking in through the fence, looking over the fence. He's not inside the fence and walking along those chalk lines anymore.
Well, he's still somewhat, in terms of Coastal, still inside the fence because his jersey hangs on the outfield wall. But aside from that, you're right. And he'll be a fascinating discussion because the one thing I've always loved about Coach is he is not unafraid to speak his mind, and especially about college baseball. He has been a long-time advocate for the game, much more so than the explosion of the game that we've seen probably in the last 10 or 15 years. He was on the cutting edge of things, and I'm sure he's got some varied opinions on where things stand right now, especially transfers and the like, which is something I've gathered from talking with him in the past. He's about like Cliff Ellis, not overly impressed with the current setup in college baseball, so I'm looking forward to that discussion for sure. And you talked about the Gamecocks last night, Phil. That's a response we have not seen from this club. Because just weeks past or games past, when they fell down 5-1, that was about to go to 10-1. Because you're right, they have packed it in at times, it appears. Auburn series, Florida series, you name it. But for them to come back at home and win that game, I get it, it's against Winthrop, but still a quality baseball team who had the lead and probably should have won that game. But the Gamecocks, to their credits, considering how bad the season has been, bounced back and got a win last night, which they need a lot of them. And I will say this about the SEC tournament, even though I don't anticipate them winning a game, it is a little bit easier for them to run the table than it has been because you don't have to deal with the double elimination side of the coin.
Yeah, exactly.
Just play and move on.
Just exactly. And I'm glad, of course, SEC, ACC, glad they went to this format with so many teams now. It would have just been really tough to run double elimination with all those teams. You'd be there forever. So you get one chance at it. If you lose, you're on your way home. I imagine, too, that teams who already are set for the NCAA tournament probably not going to be disappointed. I mean, yeah, you go there with the idea of winning, but if you lose early, you don't have to hang around, play another game in the double elimination side of it. You just get on back home, rest up, get your pitching ready for the NCAA tournament, and go on from there.
You know, that was always the situation with the Gamecocks. Part of the reason they always struggled, it appeared, in Hoover with Ray Tanner. And the question was, well, is he in a situation where he doesn't care how well they perform at the SEC tournament because of what you just said? It makes perfect sense. But I would think on the flip side, the more games you can win, unless you're the number one team in the country and you're pretty much set as a national overall number one seed, I think the more games you could win, the hotter you get. And baseball is certainly a momentum game, much like every other sport. I would think you'd certainly try, and we will see teams who are sitting on the bubble right now, i.e. maybe a team like Florida, Texas A&M, certainly going into Hoover next week in a must-win situation. They probably got to get to, what do you think, Phil, the semis, if not all the way to the championship game to get in. They may have to win it to avoid being the first preseason number one not to go to the NCAA tournament. So there will be a lot on the line for which to play. Maybe not so much for the Arkansas and the Tennessees and the LSUs of the world.
Yeah, what a disappointment they have been. Certainly one of the big stories of the college baseball season, the way things have turned out for them. So we have got a full boat of things for you. And our phone number, 888-898-2525. That's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. You can also drop us a text line at our text line number, which is 803-900-4847, 803-900-4847. Don't forget to always catch us on our streams. If you can't get us over one of our great radio stations around the state, you can get us on one of our streams as we stream the broadcast video-wise on our X, which is SC Sports Now, SC Sports Now. Also on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. Make sure you sign up for that and follow us there on YouTube. That continues to grow as well. So we got a lot of ways there for you to reach us if you can't get us over the air on a particular night. So we look at some things from today, and there's, of course, some more things happening in the financial world when it comes to college sports is every day it seems like there's a different story. There's a different lawsuit being filed or different request for something to be done to affect the new world of college sports. Whenever we get to that new world, I think people, I don't know, maybe it's because we have to look at it every day and talk about it every day. I would think people are getting somewhat tired of every day a new development coming up in the transformation of college sports. I got a simple idea. Why wouldn't this work? Why wouldn't this work? I had lunch today with somebody who, of course, totally disagrees with me on my position of, a scholarship is all they're worth, and this person believed that players deserve to be paid just like coaches deserve to be paid. It's a free market and open it up. And, okay, well, you know what? Let's open it up then. Let's let the NFL draft players out of high school. Just let them go. If you want to go and make money in your sport, then go to where they pay, which would be the NFL. Let's open up the NFL. Why is it that the NFL won't draft players out of high school? I mean, they've had this agreement with the colleges over all these years. They've used the colleges as their farm systems. They don't want to draft players out of high school because they don't want to go to the expense of developing them. And, of course, we have this long-standing, is it a truism or is it a myth that players coming out of high school aren't ready to play in the NFL? It's too fast, it's too physical for the high school player. Well, they're certainly playing the high school players like they're ready to play in the NFL, and we see high school players who look every bit the part of NFL players. So why don't we take a step back here and say, wait a minute, if you are good enough and you think you're good enough, then declare for the NFL draft. Let's open the NFL draft up. Let's open, Major League Baseball, of course, it's already open. And Major League Baseball, of course, loves to develop their own. They love to draft high school players. I mean, let's face it, baseball has it the right way. It always has had it the right way. If you're good enough coming out of high school to go play professional baseball, they'll draft you or you possibly can sign as a free agent. If not, then you can go play college. And, of course, the old way was you'd go on a scholarship and you'd have your education paid for. So why don't we just allow the established pro leagues to draft players out of high school? And they can go right to those pro leagues, not do this dilly dance with the colleges, which now are becoming, which are pro leagues. They just don't want to call themselves pro leagues. They're a lower tier pro league. I mean, would we, as college fans, if the top players coming out of high school in their respective sports all went directly to the established pro leagues, but the others went to college for the purpose of an education on a scholarship with the ability to use their NIL on the side to make money, you can't use it in recruiting. Let's say we put the hammer down on that and cut that out. Would we miss them? Would we miss the top players, or would we still, as fans and media, would we still be excited about the players who are there because they're still skilled players and they might develop into the higher level players over time? If everybody's got the same level of player, the competition is what it's all about. You still got Clemson on your uniform. You still got South Carolina on your uniform. You're still going to be playing Georgia. You're still going to be playing North Carolina. Now, if you're lucky enough to get a player who might be good enough to go to the pros but decides to go to college or whatever, then good for you. I'm just saying, I think we have forgotten about the fact that we've got legacy pro leagues, established pro leagues, and I know that they have the antitrust protections that allow them to operate the way they do. And by that, they have, as a part of all of that, they have a rule that says you can't be drafted until you're a certain age or a certain number of years removed from high school. That's the NFL rule, 3 years removed from high school, and then you can be drafted. Why don't we just do away with that and let the most talented of the high school people go right to the pros? Why is that not being contested in court somewhere? Is it because they have
question.
Well, I mean, I don't know enough about it. You know, I'm not a lawyer and no legal expert. If you listen here enough, you have figured that out. But is it the antitrust protection that protects those leagues from lawsuits and allows them to just skip right over that part of being forced to take high school graduates as part of their workforce? Is that what that is?
It's possible, and perhaps that's the reason, but I've never quite understood why the NFL just deemed this arbitrary number. You have to be, graduate 17 years of age. You have to be basically about 20 to get into the NFL. What if somebody and let's use a rare example, someone with the talent and skill set of Jadeveon Clowney. Could he have been drafted out of South Point and been ready to go in the NFL? Maybe not year one, but certainly by year two. And why wouldn't the NFL want to take some of those kids? Because the one thing about taking them earlier, you're probably going to have more of their prime. Now, you can make the argument that actually the prime of an NFL player depends on their position. Mm-hmm. And also maybe as they get a little bit older, their body develops better. And by the time they're 24, 25, that's their prime. But, I never quite understood why the NFL just said, no, you cannot come from high school because, well, then don't take them. If that's the case, don't draft them. You don't think they're ready, don't draft them. But if somebody else in your league believes they are, if Jerry Jones looks at somebody and says, he'd make a nice fit for the Cowboys coming straight out of Austin Westlake High School, we would like to have Cade Klubnik and go ahead and bring him into our roster and let him work behind Dak Prescott for a couple of years so he's ready to take over. I've never quite understood why the NFL didn't go that route.
Well, I mean, why do the colleges sit back and do the dirty work for the NFL? I mean, how much money does the NFL have? I mean, they got gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of money. I mean, they have created.
That was a rhetorical question, right?
Yes, they have created. I mean, they are a monster. I mean, they have created an environment for their sport where the draft is one of the biggest events of the year now, participation-wise by fans. Where tonight's stupid schedule release is promoted for an entire week. They've got all the talking heads under their thumbs to promote everything that they do, and they talk about, well, we're only 4 days away from dropping the NFL schedule for this year. I can't wait to see who Tampa Bay plays in Week 7.
The problem is it's leaked out. Most of the games. Yeah. I think I saw earlier they've already leaked out the Christmas Day games.
Yeah, they do that little by little just to tease you and tantalize you. But it's part of the strength of the NFL. And so if we're going to play this money game and force the colleges to play this money game and force the fans, and this is the other thing, this is where the fan gets doubly screwed and doesn't even realize it, I'm afraid, that you're paying the freight. You're paying the freight for these athletes in college, while in the pros, they have individual owners who are worth billions, and, of course, all the money streams that come in. They can easily afford to pay the $50 million salaries, or in the case of baseball, the $760 million salary of a Sosa. I mean, they can easily afford to do that for a variety of reasons. The colleges across the board, they are few and far between who can pick up a $2 million a year paycheck to a high school offensive tackle, like Miami reportedly is doing, or that's what his agent was asking for, a 3-year deal at $2 million a year. How many people are going to be able to do that in college? So the point here is, if that cat is good enough, that kid in Missouri who just committed to Miami, he's that good to earn $6 million, go right to the NFL and earn your money and let the colleges go back to what they were supposed to be in the first place. I mean, that doesn't sound like such a dumb thing to me.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, and it benefits both sides of the coin. Plus, you're going to get, if you're the college, you're going to get players who maybe want to spend more than a year at your school. And then secondly, it obviously benefits the players if they're ready to go. Jackson Cantwell being one of those guys can go straight to the NFL. I think it's a win-win on both sides. Now you have to get the NFL involved, and I don't know they want to go that route. They've shown no propensity to say, I'm going to take a high school kid. I'd much rather watch him develop in the SEC or the Big Ten or the ACC and then see what happens 3 years down the road.
Well, you've got something called the UFL or the XFL or some other FL.
Which is awful football, by the way.
Well, my point is you can use those
to watch it.
You can use those as developmental leagues very easily.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And if that's the life that a kid wants to choose coming out of high school, just like the life of a baseball player, if he wants to choose that life of riding the buses and, playing games in El Camino, California or whatever for a summer because he loves baseball and he's trying to develop into a major leaguer, so be it. That's his choice. And that's what this is all about. This is kind of where when you break it right back down to a societal thing, it's the idea of freedom of choice and free market. But the problem is, as I see it, the colleges, they are, because of the recruiting game in college, they are forced to overinflate everything because they're going after the same pool of players. And they're outbidding one another. They're not supposed to. See, they're not supposed to do that, but we all know they're trying to outbid one another. Georgia was going to get the Cantwell kid, apparently. And then, of course, Miami comes in. And this is, the shame of it is we assume it all boils down to money. Maybe the kid just liked the idea of being in, Coral Gables and playing in a stadium 45 minutes away from his dorm room. I don't know. But
in front of 12 fans.
Yeah, well, Miami is doing better, but they don't have right now they don't have the great setup like a Georgia does, for example. But Georgia supposedly was the favorite here for so long.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, in the last few days, here comes Miami being talked up, and next thing you know, you got Drew Rosenhaus, and you see the report of $2 million a year for a 3-year deal. And the assumption is, of course, that it's because of the money that is going to Miami. And so schools are forced to compete against one another in the bidding war for these players. What does that do? That just sends the prices up artificially. Okay, they're paying you $1.5 million. We'll pay you $2 million. Okay, good. Next go around, it'll be a quarterback. They're paying you $3 million. Well, we'll pay you $3.5 million or $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's a never-ending cycle there as well. You saw what Charles Barkley said today, right? If you didn't, we'll tell you about it in a moment.
When I grew up, I want to be a nurse. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher.
There's never been a better time to start making their dreams come true. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to save for their future education. Contributions are tax deductible, earnings are tax free, and you can start saving right now with any amount. Go to futurescholar.com today to discover the smart, easy way to save for college. That's futurescholar.com.
Are you in the market for an auto loan? Move now. Get an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union now through October 31st, and you'll be entered to win up to $25,000 toward your qualifying auto loan and a $5,000 deposit into your Loyalty Select account. Loyalty Select is our highest yield savings account. Leave it there to grow or transfer it out to spend. And the best part? We'll be choosing monthly winners. So the earlier you get your auto loan, the more chances you have to win. So don't wait. Visit foundersfcu.com/auto to learn more or begin your auto loan application today. Not a Founders member yet? Visit us online or stop by an office to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. We have the financial tools you'll need and the personalized service you deserve. Relax, you're with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required.
All right, let's update the golf regionals here real quick because today is the cut day. Today is the day that teams either go on to the championship or go home. We go out to Bremerton, Washington, and it is almost over. Looks like only 2 teams are out there still. They're not going to impact anything, and looks like South Carolina's going to make it. The Gamecocks are sitting in 5th position at even par. After a 2-over par round today, they are 1 shot clear of Utah, which is in the 6th spot, and 2 shots back of USF. I don't think there's going to be any other changes here, so I think we can declare South Carolina is going to be in the top 5 and move on. Florida, Arizona State, Colorado, USF, and South Carolina looks like the top 5 coming out of Bremerton. Coastal Carolina is going to finish 14th. In fact, they're one of the 2 teams still on the course, and they're playing the last 3 holes, and they are plus 36. So how about Rob Bradley coming in year number 1, getting the Gamecocks to the NCAA championships? They'll have the men and the women participating for the NCAA championship.
Really impressive job, and it boils down to players. And if you got a kid like Nathan Franks who can go out and make the cut in a PGA event, that doesn't hurt your chances for him. What did he finish for them?
Let's take a look at this. Today's round, this is round 3. So today, Frankie Harris shot a 67. So he was the star for the Gamecocks. 11 under for the tournament for him.
Wow.
What a day for him. I don't see a bogey on his card. Looks like he's got 5 birdies, no bogeys, a 67. Nathan Franks had a 71. That's 1 under. He finished at plus 2. Encinas at plus 4. Zach Adams at plus 6. Blaise at plus 9. Let's see, the player leaderboard for the regional. Kid from Utah finished at 12 under. Kid from Florida finished at 11 under, and so did Harris. So Harris finished tied for second with kid from Florida, 1 shot back. But you know what? They don't care. They're going to the big dance for the NCAA men's golf tournament. So that's quite the news there. We'll check the other regionals as well in just a moment. I don't believe any other team from the state was going to make it after yesterday's round. Just wanted to check South Carolina because they were right in the hunt, and they are moving on, and we'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's the night's forecast. Not cooling down too much this evening. Muggy conditions, a low of 67. Tomorrow we're warmer. The blend of sunshine and clouds and a high up to 89. And for Friday, mostly cloudy, a high all the way to 92. For the weekend, mostly cloudy again. 20% chance we get rain Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Are you ready to have a boatload of fun this spring? Sail on down to your local Palmetto State Armory store and deck yourself out in our new lifestyle t-shirts, hats, and fishing shirts. Seize the day with brands like Hey Dudes, Costa, Turtle Box, Local Boy, and more. Our selection of rifles, pistols, and shotguns is sure to impress. So don't be left fishing for something to wear once the warmer weather has arrived. Check out one of our 9 retail locations or PalmettoStateArmory.com to outfit your next adventure.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Boeing has secured a pair of major orders in the Middle East during a visit to the region by President Trump. The American aerospace manufacturer confirmed a $96 billion order from Qatar Wednesday, one day after announcing an order from a company in Saudi Arabia for 20 737-8 jets and options for 10 additional aircraft. Several hundred immigrants have been charged with unauthorized access to a newly designated militarized zone along the southern U.S. border in New Mexico and western Texas since the Department of Justice introduced the new approach. On Wednesday, a judge was weighing advice on how to move forward with the unprecedented approach to border enforcement. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 89 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Lots of plumbing companies out there. Few are truly local. Time to discover the difference with Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, when I faced plumbing woes at the Cohen home, Josh and his dedicated team, well, they were my go-to solution. They make a commitment to exceptional service. They arrived on time, clearly detailed all the costs and procedures, and efficiently handled all my repairs without any surprises. These days, how often do we complain about a lack of customer service out there? With Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, these folks are professional. They're courteous. They're skilled at what they do, and they've earned my trust, and they've earned my recommendation to you. From urgent repairs to the tankless water heater you've always wanted, they've got you covered. Visit franklinplumbing.sc.com or call 799-2222. That's 799-2222. Hey, you tell them Kev sent you from The Point. I'm pretty sure you'll want to thank me later.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Tradition and quality. That's what you get with H&J Cattle Company, where local third-generation farmers ensure you receive the finest beef in South Carolina. Our registered Hereford and Wagyu cattle are raised with sustainable practices without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. Taste the difference with the highest quality beef guaranteed. Order now at HandJCattle.com or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle. Again, HandJCattle.com, where ethics meets quality.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21. Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
All right, back we are. Sports Talk Media Network. MJ is in the studio. He'll be joining us in just a second. As we mentioned, South Carolina has qualified moving forward to the NCAA Men's Championship beginning, I believe that would be the end of next week. The women begin the end of this week. The College of Charleston is going to come up just short. Cougars are going to finish in 7th place in their regional at 20 over. They're going to miss the cut by 10 shots. And Upstate is going to finish 13th in that regional at plus 60. So they're going to miss the cut there by 50 shots. And then we got one more to check, and that is going to be Furman. And Furman is playing in the Tallahassee regional. And that regional is also complete. Furman's going to finish 11th at plus 13. And they're going to finish 10 shots off the cut at plus 13. The cut there came in at minus 3. Florida State, Ole Miss, I should mention those who are advancing along with the ones from the South Carolina regional. Florida State, Ole Miss, New Mexico, Georgia, and Augusta are going to make it out of the Tallahassee regional. Out of the Amherst regional, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Pepperdine. Out of the Auburn regional, it's Auburn, Texas A&M, UCLA, Purdue, and Georgia Tech. From the Urbana regional, Illinois, Oklahoma State, UNLV, Troy, and Texas Tech. And from the Reno regional, BYU, Virginia, Texas, Mississippi State, and San Diego. Now, those are all the top 5. So I haven't gone through to make sure everybody's in, and there won't be any other adjustments, but those are the top 5 at this particular time. It does look like, well, they're still playing. They're still playing out there at in Reno, so there could still be some adjustments there. But those are the top 5 in each of those regionals at this point. But we do know South Carolina is clear and in. We'll try and catch up with Coach Bradley later in the show. I'm sure he is celebrating and ecstatic about what his team was able to do. Let's welcome in MJ Ward, who covers, of course, the major golf scene for us here for Sports Talk. And he has made his way from outside of New York, New Jersey, on his way to Charlotte. And he was gracious enough to visit us here in the studio. Welcome in, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be back in town.
You old Gamecock, you.
That's very true.
How do you feel about the two Gamecock teams making it to the championships?
Well, I'm always excited. I think it's just good for the school, and it's a different universe. When I remember serving as sports editor, that sounds like the dinosaur age, but
yeah,
I can remember when the baseball team was probably the dominant team, and football was trying to get in, and the men's basketball was still good. But it was a different time, and it's just great. I really am really happy for the teams and the coaches and all the people that are connected with the athletic area.
So while you were here today, you came in early. You got a chance to head down to the Aiken area, took a look at one of the golf courses down there, one of the really nice courses in our state.
Yeah.
Which one did you see?
Old Barnwell. It's literally a real gem of a layout. Created by a gentleman who was originally from Chicago but lives in Charleston, and it's a true classic design golf course. It's not your traditional get carts and go run all over the place. It has caddies. It has the full program, and it's just a superb. Many people will be hearing about it for sure in the years to come. It's already there now, but the word will only spread.
What did you really like about the layout?
I just think that it's really a tie to classic architecture. It goes back to what Jones and McKenzie had envisioned for Augusta National, although it's not similar to that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that the design mirrors a lot of classic design theories that you would see at the old school golf courses in the New York area, in Boston and Philadelphia. And I can't believe the amount of golf that's in the Midlands area that has taken off. Probably in the last several years, but it's truly amazing, and it's a real testament to the ownership that they hired the right folks involved, and they have a tremendous team in place. It's going to be really something.
When you were around here back as a student and living here in the Columbia area, which courses did you frequent?
Well, it was probably Hidden Valley, Sedgewood. Mm-hmm. I remember,
which is no longer with us.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The pro was there. Was Ronnie. I can't think of the gentleman who was the pro there. I'll come to my Hidden Valley up in Casey. Linrick, the old Columbia standby.
Yeah.
But there was no university golf course. The team played out of a couple of places, Columbia Country Club, I think Forest Acres. There may have been a few others, but it wasn't. Mike Holland was the top player at that time. Mike was fortunate. He won the two-man event on the tour, I believe, at Lake Buena Vista many years ago. But that was a different era because collegiate golf today is just off the charts. It's tremendous. I know teams at the Division III level where the entire team is from outside the United States. Division III, and it's amazing. And they're here for a couple of reasons: the programs, the schools, the competition. If you're playing at that level, you have a very distinct possibility of maybe getting into pro golf. I don't want to say it's easy because it's not.
Yeah, you need to go while you're here before you head to Quail Hollow tomorrow. You need to go and take a look at Salina Golf Club. You've heard us talk about Salina.
Yeah,
that's the Bryan Bros.
Yeah,
George, and that is the. What was the name of the course out there? That was the old. It's out by the airport. It's out by the Indian River. It's the old Indian River course. They have taken that property and made a complete makeover. And the course. I've only been out there once with George, and he drove me around. I looked at a few of the holes, and you could tell it's been handled now with Wesley and George IV, and with George III there as well. Guys with PGA backgrounds, like Wesley does. It's got all those touches. It's gorgeous. It is beautiful. They hosted the Southern Conference Women's Tournament there this month, and they just hosted the local U.S. Open qualifier.
That's really good.
And they've got their sights on other things. If you get a chance, go out, take a look at it, just walk around, and they're building a new clubhouse out there. They're making it something special.
Yeah, I'm really happy for the Midlands area because much of the golf development, as everybody knows, was coastal related.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, obviously, and then clearly the Charleston situation. But it's really good. I'm glad to hear these kind of stories because people want the South Carolina pedigree with golf goes way back. It goes back to really when golf was really being founded in the United States. So I'm happy for those situations. And anytime you can take a piece of property and do what you just mentioned, I will say when we were going through the pandemic and even before, there were golf courses in the New York metro area that were being sold on cash deals. I mean, because they were aging out with the membership and the taxes that were on those properties was excessive. So if you don't have a thriving membership, it's really hard to maintain clubs, but you have to have a vision by the ownership, and that's what they have at Old Barnwell, and I'm sure that's what has happened with the Bryan family, what they're doing.
Another one you need to check out if you haven't is the Coyote Club, maybe it's Quixote Club, used to be the old Sunset Golf Club in Sumter.
Okay.
That's been a complete makeover into something really special. I mean, really special from what I understand. So let's turn our attention to the PGA.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're headed. We'll be hearing from you during this segment the next 3 nights from the golf course. So, I mean, if you ask me, you look at history, you look at how he handles the golf course, it's a no-brainer that Rory's going to win this thing and get the second leg of the Grand Slam.
Yeah, see, I think on paper that's absolutely right. You can't deny it. The thing about winning something like the Masters, you don't know necessarily if he still has that burning desire to keep it going. Tiger did. Jack did. They were never satiated. Winning was just another tool to go some other place, which is win more. But with Rory, on paper, yes, that's there. But I will tell you, Scotty's resurgence in Dallas showed me that he's not taking time off. He's not celebrating being world number 1 because he knows that world number 2 is right there. And there's a whole range of players. I mean, take, for example, Xander. Xander is now starting to really play well. Xander was the runner-up in the last 2 events at the Wells Fargo, the last 2 years. So, there's a lot of players involved, but when you look at Rory, on paper, he's played there 14 times. He's finished in the top 10 times. He's won 4 times. He had the old course record. Then he set the new course record. So, I mean, every time you mention his name, there's another milestone that he's creating. But if he should win, this would be the first time since Jordan Spieth in 2015 that somebody's won the first 2 majors. I will tell you that the tickets for Oakmont in June would really be a hot seller.
Yeah.
Because to see somebody with an opportunity, and again, it's a long shot, a calendar Grand Slam truly has never been done. Bob Jones did it way back when, but that was a different Grand Slam. To do the modern Grand Slam, the closest we have is the Tiger Slam, but Tiger did it not in the same calendar year. If Rory were to do that, now here's the thing, Phil, if he should win the first 3 legs, how nice would it be to play at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland, where he also has the course record of the old layout. But you imagine the amount of people, there wouldn't be anybody working in Ireland. They'd all be there watching the event. So if he should be able to pull this off, it would be an amazing situation. But again, we're way ahead of ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
MJ Ward with us here tonight on Sports Talk. Looking forward to the PGA Championship starting tomorrow up in Charlotte. And MJ, to his credit, Scotty Scheffler showed up today for a practice round wearing an orange polo on the anniversary of when he was arrested for some reason in Louisville prior to last year's PGA Championship. That he can joke about it now, I think, says a lot about him. But how much do you think the embarrassment and having to go through all of that may have affected him, if any?
Well, obviously, he had a great year. I mean, after he followed, after the PGA, I mean, how many people do you know could shoot 62 in the Olympics in the final round, overcomes a major deficit to John Rahm, and then he finishes with the Tour Championship? I think the bigger issue for Scotty is, as much as what happened at Valhalla was, that was an overblown incident that could have probably and should have been handled differently. But I think for him, the wake-up call, you look at Scotty's face when he put the green jacket on Rory. I can tell you, he was there because he needed to be there. It was not exactly the most happiest of situations. Not that he wasn't happy personally for McIlroy, but when you play at that level, you're expecting your green jacket to be put back on yourself. And he could have defended his title. He was not really out of contention, but he was never really in the storyline. To answer your question, I think he's fully prepared to go. And I think we're going to see a real tussle between the two of them, among other people probably.
I keep hoping that at some point in time, Quail Hollow will host a U.S. Open, because I would love to see what the USGA would do with the last 3 holes at Quail Hollow, the Green Mile, and make it nearly impossible, I think, to score. But how do you think the PGA will set up the final 3 holes there because of how critical they are to that golf course?
Well, they had a press conference the other day. I was up in Charlotte Tuesday, and Kerry Haig, who's an Australian, has been head of championships for the PGA of America for a number of years. He does a fantastic job. As far as Quail Hollow having a U.S. Open, the closest that'll ever be for that is Pinehurst. They're locked in.
Right.
They're not going to. There is an opening in 2043, but I will tell you, there's a line. There's a line already for the 2043 slot. I can't mention a couple of the clubs that are liking to try to get back in, but as far as close to Columbia as you can be, Pinehurst will be that site. The next one will be in 29. So they're going to be there for a number of opens to come. How the USGA would set up Quail Hollow, that's an interesting question. But I think the PGA's got it right. They know that people want to see entertainment. You don't want to see guys hit the ball in the rough and then have to hit it out sideways because the rough is too high. They can't score. So there's a balance line. Keep in mind, there's been rainstorms up in the Charlotte area, just as there's been in Columbia, passing thunderstorms. Golf courses play soft, players can score.
Yeah.
And Rory is very adept at playing in those kind of situations, given his driving skills. I'm really excited to see what this is going to be about. And this, we'll find out if the sequel to the Masters is equal or better than what we saw in April.
I'm hoping for it. I'd love to see it. Now, for those who don't know, the Green Mile, that constitutes holes 16, 17, 18, and it was dubbed that, you might think because it's just beautiful green grass and all that, but no, it was taken from a book.
Right.
It was the book about guy on death row, and so they
the movie,
and but it came from the book originally, right. but they connect it by saying 3 really tough holes, and right. it's like being in this prison. My question to you is, because you cover golf all around the world, I mean, we think of Amen Corner at Augusta as maybe the most hallowed 3 holes in golf, but with the publicity that this gets, the Green Mile, I mean, does it come close to rivaling Amen Corner in the golf world in terms of the thoughts of playing those 3 holes and playing them well and conquering those 3 holes like the golfers want to do at Augusta?
Well, I'm sure the members of Quail Hollow think that, okay? But I would say probably not, because Quail Hollow's ascension has only been in the recent time. I mean, Augusta Nationals goes back a long time. And when Herbert Warren Wynn tabbed 11, 12, and 13 at Augusta, it came from an old jazz song. And, shouting in the Amen Corner is essentially the lyric. If I get it wrong, I'm sure some callers will call in and correct me.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic stretch. No lead is safe. A lot of things can happen. 16 is an extremely difficult 4-par. The par 3 17th. When the pin is put in the back corner, it takes someone with, let's put it this way, tremendous nerve or reckless ability to go shooting for the flag. But Chris, to your point, the USGA, it's hard to know how they would set up a golf course like that and how much more they would change it. Keep in mind now, you never see, it used to be in years past, a course could hold the U.S. Open and 5 years later would have the PGA Championship. Oakmont's had that happen. Right now, you either date one or you date the other. Mm-hmm. You can't do both. They're both locking in sites, and the PGA of America has been smart enough to realize that no golf area in the country is probably equal to the Carolinas. In terms of fan support, I can only probably name the Minnesota area, St. Louis, major come out of fans. There's nothing comparable to the Carolina section. That's why they're sold out. In the New York area where I'm from, there's Aaron Judge, what he's doing. By the time they talk about the PGA, it would be somewhere down on the list, but not in Charlotte. Yeah. They've had live feeds every day. It'll only intensify. So it's a great time to be in North Carolina and to see a major championship, which is less than 100 miles from Columbia. So if you're a fan of golf, you got the chance to see the first 2 majors right in your own backyard, which is tremendous.
Right up 77. You have a safe trip to Charlotte. We appreciate you. Look forward to Thursday, Friday during this segment live from Quail Hollow. Look forward to hearing from you.
Always a pleasure to be with you guys in studio and to be back in Columbia.
Great to see you.
Appreciate it, MJ.
MJ Ward joining us here on Sports Talk. You can read his stuff online at Golf Today. Golf Today. Just look up MJ Ward and Golf Today and follow him there if you are into the game of golf, and we'll be back.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Traveling can be the worst, especially when you can't find your favorite show. Well, don't worry. We've got the perfect way to keep up with everything happening in the Palmetto State when you're away from home. Just pull up the Chief Sports app on your mobile device, and you can listen live to Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network.
So the next time you can't find us on one of our great radio affiliates, just log on to the Chief Sports app, the best way to stay connected with the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we are back on Sports Talk Media Network, coming up on the top of the hour. Thanks to MJ for spending time with it. Just love hearing him talk about golf because he knows the scene so well from his world travels. Looking forward to having him. We're so lucky to have him as part of our golf coverage because of his knowledge of the players and of the courses. And I would love to see Rory win, just because of what it would mean to have the idea of somebody being halfway home for the Slam, and then I didn't realize that if he were to do that, then he were to win the Open, he'd basically be going to his home course in Ireland. Can you imagine how big an event that would be?
You'd probably have to go through their soccer teams to try and figure out if there was anything that would rival that in terms of sporting events in Northern Ireland, because otherwise I can't imagine anything would be bigger. And that's why the horse racing industry missed out here. You had to have your Kentucky Derby winner running in the Preakness to make it interesting. It'd be like Rory sitting out the PGA this weekend. Now I get it. It's a different setup because you don't want to put wear and tear on the horses. I get all of that, but still, that's where nobody's going to tune into the Preakness now, at least the casual fan, because there's no shot at a Triple Crown.
Yeah.
This is why the PGA is going to be so interesting, aside from the good golf, is Rory has a chance to do something that hasn't been done in decades.
Yeah, I'm pulling for him. Plus, he's a great personality. He would elevate things to a level we haven't seen. All credit to Scotty Scheffler for what he does as a great golfer, and he is a great golfer, and all the others. They don't have the personality, though. And they're great golfers, nice people, don't get me wrong. Rory's kind of got that it factor. He's got that little swagger like Tiger had. These other guys, they're great players, and they got their fans and all that. But I just don't sense the same level of excitement like there is when Rory is on the prowl. Like Tiger, whenever Tiger was in the hunt for a tournament, it was just that little something extra. And I think it's reflected in the television ratings and the overall interest in the game when
I would agree.
Guys like Tiger or guys like Rory are in contention. So, all right, phone number 888-898-2525 is how you can reach us coming up on the top of the hour. And, again, if you're just joining us, South Carolina has qualified for the NCAA Men's Golf Championship. Try and hit up Coach Bradley in a little bit if we can reach him out in Washington. We're going to hear from Paul Maneri coming up after the top of the hour break. We'll do recruiting as well. Then at the bottom of the next hour, Coach Gary Gilmore, who needs no introduction. We'll talk with him and catch up with him on how he's been feeling, as, of course, he's going to be battling this cancer for the rest of his life, but he's been able to battle it quite well. But it's an ongoing thing for him, so we'll catch up with him and get his thoughts on this Coastal Carolina team that has emerged as one of the top 10 or 15 teams in the country and in a position to host a regional and maybe, according to the latest projections from D1, have Clemson in the field with them. How big would that be?
You were just talking about Rory playing on his home course in Northern Ireland. This would be pretty close as well. It would be a huge opportunity for the Chanticleers, especially after having to go to Clemson last year for the regionals.
Yes.
Be a load of payback for them.
Payback is hell, they say.
Could very well be.
And Coastal. But they'd have to beat a team 3 or maybe 4 times in one season. That's tough to do. All right, top of the hour. We'll be back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The FBI says it broke up a plan to attack an Army site in Michigan. Lisa Dwyer reports.
Federal authorities say that 19-year-old Ammar Abdul-Majid Mohammed Saeed has been charged with planning a deadly attack on a U.S. military base in suburban Detroit. The FBI says the man was planning a mass shooting at the Army's Tank Automotive and Armaments Command in Warren, Michigan for ISIS. 2 FBI employees working undercover recorded their meetings with Saeed, including handwritten diagrams of the site. Saeed was a recent member of the Michigan Army National Guard and was arrested shortly after launching a drone sent up for a final look before an attack. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A national security expert says Ukraine and Russia are running out of time if they hope for help from the U.S. in bringing an end to the war.
Victoria Coach with the Heritage Foundation says President Trump has already invested heavily in bringing an end to the conflict.
The president's put 2 top people, General Kellogg and Special Envoy Witkoff, on the Ukraine file for now well over 100 days.
Coach tells the Salem Radio Network now it's time for Ukraine and Russia to decide whether they're serious about ending the war.
If Russia and Ukraine don't want a deal, we can't want it more than they do.
Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022. Bob Agnew reporting.
The Environmental Protection Agency says it will roll back limits on several types of what are known as forever chemicals in drinking water. The agency, however, will keep limits on the 2 most common types called PFOA and PFOS, although it will offer a 2-year deadline extension for utilities to comply. Mixed day on Wall Street as the Dow was down by 89 points, the Nasdaq rose 136, the S&P advanced 6. More at townhall.com.
Healthcare is complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you don't love how your health insurance works, maybe it's time to leave traditional health insurance behind. Take charge of your healthcare with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM offers you flexibility. Enroll anytime, choose your own provider, and select the program that fits your needs and budget. CHM is the original faith-based way of taking care of your medical bill costs. Learn more at chministries.org/wellness.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Average income people would see double-digit percentage declines in their tax bills under the House Republicans' tax package, according to a new official analysis that's sure to inflame partisan fights over who would get what under the plan. Details on this from correspondent Bernie Bennett.
Those making between $30,000 and $80,000 would pay around 15% less in taxes in 2027, the report by the Nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation shows. People making more than $1 million that year would see an 8.6% decline. Republicans scoffed at the report, pointing to provisions in their plan that would expand the child tax credit and standard deduction while creating new breaks for tips, overtime pay, seniors, and car loan interest. Democrats also emphasized the total dollar tax cut going to different income groups, rather than percentage declines in their own tax bills. Bernie Bennett reporting.
News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's the night's forecast. Not cooling down too much this evening. Muggy conditions, a low of 67. Tomorrow we're warmer. The blend of sunshine and clouds and a high up to 89. And for Friday, mostly cloudy, a high all the way to 92. For the weekend, mostly cloudy again. 20% chance we get rain Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your Our Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. Great to have you with us. Got a busy hour ahead. In just a couple of minutes, we'll hear from Paul Maneri. Then Gary Gilmore will be coming on board here in just a little bit. Got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of little notes to pass along. We were talking about the Green Mile. In case you aren't familiar with its history as far as the name, it's named after the Stephen King book, later made into that feature film that Berge mentioned, with Tom Hanks chronicling the last days of a death row inmate in Cold Mountain Penitentiary. So the Green Mile, that's where that comes from, and it seems to kind of fits. The Green Mile, as somebody said here, the Green Mile, you're a dead man walking. Maybe that's where the phrase originated. Maybe back a couple of decades ago, somebody made the comment. I think. I'm reading here, the Green Mile. Some guy on a sports broadcast on the PGA Championship preview show said, the Green Mile, you're a dead man walking. And so I guess it kind of took hold. It's a great name for it.
It is, and it fits. It's 3 holes that average or calculate over 1,000 yards in length. So, I mean, not only is the appropriate nature of golf and being the Green Mile, but also it's about as long as a mile, too.
Yeah.
That would be where the late John Feinstein would be perfect with a good walk spoiled.
Yeah.
Because it could very well be.
Yes, it can spoil some good rounds, could it not?
Indeed.
Yeah.
It could decide the tournament, quite frankly.
Oh, well, you hope it comes down to that. You want it to come right down to the end. Charles Barkley, you asked about that, and here is what he was quoted as saying today, talking about NIL and the way that colleges are asking their fans, their alum, to give. He said, quote, I've given more money to Auburn, legal or illegal, than any athlete in the history of the school. And the notion that I'm going to come up with a couple of $1 million every year so that we can be good at basketball and football, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. End of the quote. So, but it's true. I mean, that is what they're asking these folks to do. Give. And, I mean, what's the end game here? And how much can you continue to keep going to the same bank over and over again, expecting the same results, you know? I mean, I've had...
Well, and that's somebody, Phil, that can afford to do it. For the most part, these schools are asking their fan bases. Some of them have to scrape together just enough money to actually go to the games and spend a weekend watching them play on a Saturday. Now you're also asking them to dig deeper into a very, very small pie and grab more money. And here's Charles Barkley coming out and saying, look, I've had enough of this. And he's somebody that can easily handle it. And the funny part is he actually admitted that he would give money under the table in the old days, too. I thought that was hilarious.
Well, that's Barkley, of course. But, you know, I mean, you got – and look, they're not asking everybody to give $1 million. You know, they're asking you to give $25 here, $35 there, whatever you can afford. But to get it done in a big way with some of the people you're pursuing, it takes deep pockets. It takes somebody willing to go deep and give you that money. So eventually you're going to bleed those people dry, I think. Of course, I guess there's millionaires born every day who might be willing to step up and lend a hand when it comes to this sort of thing. The South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony and banquet, which is this coming Monday night, of course, we'll be there for that, and Coach Gilmore is going into the Hall of Fame. And the press conference on Monday, everything is going to be streamed live on the internet at youtube.com/@SCAHOF. Same thing on Facebook, SCAHOF. So if you can't get it and it's sold out, if you can't get there, it always has a huge crowd. And I guess, you know, this gives people a chance, those who are not able to get in, it gives them a chance to watch it on the stream. So that's good. Clemson at Pittsburgh starting pitchers. Aiden Canuck on Thursday against Patrick Gardner. Drew Titsworth on Friday against TBA, and TBA on Saturday. Also, this note about college football in the playoffs from CBS today. College football playoffs power brokers are nearing consensus to change the seeding process next season and eliminate first-round buys for conference champions. Sources have told CBS Sports the proposal has gained support from ACC and Big 12 commissioners in recent weeks. The SEC is already on board. The SEC and the Big 10 have already supported a shift to straight seeding, and so do away with the buys for the conference champions and just seed everybody 1 through 12. You like that idea? So in other words, there's no reward.
I don't know how you're going to.
There's no reward for winning your conference championship.
Yeah, but how can they do that? Mathematics don't work out that well with 12 teams. How are you going to not have a bye in there?
It's a good question.
You can't do it with 12 teams. They would have to then, if they're going to no buys, they're going to have to go to 16, and then everybody plays in the first round.
The CFP expanded to 12 in the 24 season. The top 4 champions receive first-round buys. Starting in 25, straight seeding would eliminate those automatic buys and instead reward the top 4 teams in the CFP selection committee's final rankings. The 12-team format expires at the end of this coming season. Of course, they're discussing going to 14 and 16 teams. So how would that work? How would that work? That would be.
They cannot do it unless they expand.
You'd have 6 games, right? You'd have 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
6 winners. And then you'd have 3 games. Yeah, something would be off there, wouldn't it?
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense. Why is this not explaining this? Why is this story not explaining this to me? Why are we stumped on this?
I'm just telling you, we're not stumped. What that means is they're going to add 4 additional teams because they're certainly not cutting back to 8.
Well, I mean, you think
So
they're going to
go to 16?
They're going to add them before the 25 playoff? You're thinking? No, nobody's talking about adding before the 25 playoff.
Correct.
They're not supposed to
But
add
they're not
until
talking-
the 26.
Yeah. But this is for this coming year?
Yeah.
They can't work without buys.
Starting in 25, I'm reading the story here from Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports. Starting in 25, straight seeding would eliminate those automatic buys and instead reward the top 4 teams in the final ranking. So I guess they'll be the top 4 seeded teams.
Okay. Then maybe they get the buys. I don't know.
No, there are no buys.
Unless you take.
There are no buys.
Okay, well, somewhere
wait.
along the line, somebody's got to get a buy.
Oh, wait a second. Eliminate first round. Well, it says eliminate first round buys for Okay, you know what? Okay, I see what's happening. So instead of the conference champions automatically getting a bye, even though they would be seeded down lower, this is the problem we had last year. Okay, I get it now. There's going to be buys.
Okay.
They're going to be buys. I see it now. It's come to me. I have the vision. They're going to be buys. They're just not going to be automatic. It's going to be
Correct.
the top 4 ranked
Gotcha.
teams are going to get buys. So they're not eliminating the buys per se. They're eliminating the buys for the conference. This wasn't written as clearly as it might have been or should have been written for somebody like me to be able to understand it at first blush. So apparently the buys are still going to be there. It's just that it's going to go to the top 4 ranked teams. They're going to get the top 4 seeds. And if you're not a conference champion, but you're still one of the top 4 ranked teams, you're going to get a bye. That's how it's going to work. And if you're a
So
conference
basically the
champion,
SEC
if you're a conference champion, but you're not ranked among the top 4, you're not going to get a bye.
It'll be the top 2 teams in the SEC and top 2 teams in the Big Ten.
Probably.
Go ahead and write that down.
Probably.
Because that's exactly what it's going to be.
All right, Paul Maneri met with the media today over at Founders Park. LSU is coming to town. He talked about, of course, starting Crowther and starting McCoy in the first 2 games, and then waiting to see what happens in game number 3. But, you know, those are the 2 that he mentioned that will start. And also he mentioned that it's very questionable for Petrie to play at least tomorrow night. He wasn't feeling good today after playing last night. Then question came up to him about facing LSU, the old school where he coached for about 15 years, and he talked a good bit about that and his feelings about having been in Baton Rouge. And then we turned our attention to talking about his team and the fact that they were down big last night in a bad season, yet they managed to score 5 runs in the 8th to pull out that victory and show a little something from the team. And he talked about how these guys didn't give it up last night when they could have.
You know, we didn't have a midweek game last week, and we had been swept by Florida, and then we were swept at Auburn. You know, obviously we're playing some really good teams. I don't know if you saw some polls have LSU 1 and Auburn 2. So the last 2 weeks of the season playing number 2 and number 1 teams in the country. So this is the SEC. This is what you expect. But we had a midweek game, and we weren't particularly playing well in the early part of the game. We weren't pitching terrible. You know, they hit 3 solo home runs, and then we had one bad inning of pitching where, you know, we had 2 outs, nobody on. They hit a batter, walked the batter, and then there was what looked like a great play, but the throw got a little bit slow to first, and the guy scores from second. I mean, it was kind of a freaky play, but, you know, we were down 5-1, and, you know, we had a little rally going, but then, you know, Woida hit a ground ball to the first baseman, and he misplayed it, which gave us a break, you know. And but then Nathan Hall got a really clutch hit, and Kazmar got a really clutch hit, and then of course Bo Jordan came through, you know, with the ball in right center. But the ball could have been caught too. I mean, it would have been a great play by their center fielder, but he didn't quite get it. And the ball got past them, and we ended up scoring the 3 runs. And then Marlod went out and, you know, struck out their great hitter, their cleanup hitter, who had been having a big night to end the game. So it was thrilling. It was good for the kids, you know. And anytime you win a game, I don't care who it's against, it's like I said last night, I've done this for 40 years. People don't realize how hard it is to win a college baseball game. Some years you make it look easy, and some years you really make it look hard. But I can assure you it's always hard, and you never take anything for granted, and a comeback win's a comeback win. So I'm hoping that the kids will, build upon that and have confidence going out there. I mean, we're going to be playing a tremendously talented team. You look at the stat lines of their first two starting pitchers, it's obscene almost, So we got our work cut out for us. I recruited Cade Anderson when he was a 10th grader, I think. And then in his 11th grade year, he had Tommy John surgery. And then he'd been battling back and wasn't used all that much, by the coaching staff there in his first couple years. And now all of a sudden it's kind of blossomed, and he's pitching the way that I thought he could possibly pitch. So we got a big challenge there. Except for watching him pitch in the games on television, I don't know their second starting pitcher personally, but they got talented arms, they got talented players at every position. So we got our work cut out for us.
You have a weekend rotation in mind yet?
Yeah, we're going to go with Ashton Crowther. That's what I was mentioning earlier. Ashton Crowther's going to start the game tomorrow, and then Jake McCoy on Friday. And it's TBA for Saturday, but I hope it'll be Dylan Eskew. It's just a matter of how he feels.
How's Ethan feeling after last night? Looked like he was grabbing his shoulder a little bit on that last swing.
Yeah, he's not feeling too good, actually. He's not going to practice today, so he's very questionable for this weekend.
Honoring the seniors this weekend, these were the first guys that are part of that senior class that you're working with here. Yeah. What can you just say about the guys that wanted to come back?
Some of the kids that are in the senior class will always be special to me. I've had, as you might imagine, in the previous 39 years, I've had an awful lot of just wonderful, wonderful young men, and I feel privileged to have coached them, and I feel that way about many of the kids in this senior class. I can tell you, I've never met a finer human being than Evan Stone, for example. He's just the most optimistic, upbeat young man, and cares deeply about this school and this team. And, the other day when I was communicating with Ethan while I was traveling, and he told me that he was going to give it a try, part of the reason he said he wanted to do it was because of Evan Stone specifically, So it just goes to show how these kids are wonderful kids. I know the record has not been good this year in SEC play, and we need to change that, and we will. We're working so hard on the recruiting class for next year. Sometimes even you have to take phone calls to interrupt press conferences because you're working that hard. I told you I spent 2 days on an airplane, and Terry Rooney's on his way to Atlanta right now as we speak to watch a kid pitch. So, it's, we're working hard. We're gonna improve, but that doesn't take away from the enjoyment that I've had of working with these young men. And we're gonna have, I think it's 10 seniors tomorrow. And I'm going to miss them, and I'll always remember them very fondly. I won't think of records. I'll think of the kind of people that they are and how much they've given. And, look, if they're not good enough to hit 380 and hit 20 home runs or throw the ball 95 miles an hour, so be it. Somebody else recruited those kids, but I took over the program, and so they become my responsibility. And my affection for them will always be there, and we'll miss them.
Your corner infielders are both freshmen who have really good years. And are those two guys you think you can build around? And do you have pretty good assurances from the two of them that they plan on returning?
First of all, and I might have mentioned this to you before about how much this year has been very similar to my first year at LSU. And I did something very similar at LSU. When it became apparent that we had some areas of concern, should I say, my first year at LSU, I made a very conscious decision to play some talented freshmen that the previous coach had recruited so that they would get that experience. And I had 4 freshmen in the lineup that first year at LSU. And typically they batted high in the order because I saw the potential in them. Well, the next year we went to Omaha, and the next year we won the national championship, and they were the cornerstone of those next 2 teams. They didn't have great freshman years. One of them struck out 60 times or something, and one of them was our best player, best hitter. One of them showed a great deal of confidence, but he had some areas he needed to improve as well. And the fourth one was inconsistent, but a tremendous athlete. And I just decided to play them, and hopefully it would pay off down the road, and it did. So I told you this year when I came here, I mean, it was obvious to me when we were going through fall practice that there were going to be some shortcomings on the mound. We didn't have a bunch of, strong arm pitchers. We were going to have to try to pitch and full hitters and that type of thing. And, it catches up with you sometimes in the SEC when you can't overpower a hitter and you need a strikeout when you're pitching to contact, because that's what you have to work with. Okay? So I knew there were some limitations coming out of the fall, but I saw in KJ Scobie an outstanding third baseman. You saw a play he made last night that if he doesn't make that play, we might get blown out of the game early. But he makes a tremendous play on a ball, steps on third, throws to first. He hasn't played perfect. I mean, he made a critical error at Kentucky. There was a couple balls against Florida. He missed a line drive, and there was a ball similar to the ball last night that he didn't get to, and it was a bases-clearing double. He's not perfect, but he's an elite third baseman. And he'll get, and believe it or not, he'll get better. And it's a player I think you can grow with. There's been times when he's shown what he's capable of as a hitter, but he's also been inconsistent there, which is very close to what I had back at LSU many years ago. A kid named Ryan Schimpf. Ryan struck out 60-something times his freshman year. He swung and missed a lot, got fooled a lot. Couldn't hit the ball to the opposite field very well. Well, you know what? That kid really worked at it because he loved the game and ended up becoming a major league ball player. Maybe that'll happen with KJ. In Bo's case, another elite defensive player. He made a great play last night, I think, on a backhand down the line, and he's picked a lot of balls and he's done a lot of great things. Now, you can't sacrifice offense for defense at first base, but Bo's held his own, and he won the game for us last night with a bases-loaded double. He's hit some big home runs for us. He's gotten some big hits for us. He's also had some not-so-great moments. But who doesn't in this sport, When you have a full nine-man lineup where everybody is a tough out, yeah, like I'm sure Ethan Petrie didn't come through all the time in his first 2 years, but Cole Messina picked him up or somebody else picked him up, and you probably didn't notice it because of that. Well, when you don't have that nine-man lineup like you want to have where every out is a tough out, you notice when your best players don't come through in a clutch situation because somebody's not picking them up, So, I think those are two players that you can grow with. Every indication I have from both of them is that they love it here and that they're going to be back. I certainly hope they will, but you just never know in this business. I haven't been through that cycle yet of this. Everybody says, well, how's the transfer portal? And, and I tell them, look, when I'm on the field, I coach them the same I've ever coached them. And it was, I enjoyed recruiting kids to the school because, you had a little money to work with, whatever. But I haven't gone through the back end of that cycle yet where maybe players leave that you don't want to leave. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have, many players go in the transfer portal, but if some of it will be a mutual decision between the coach and the player, and some will be the decision of the coach. And if the player decides that he wants to and I really didn't want him to leave, I'll have to deal with that emotionally and make up for it. I'm as anxious as you to find out.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
All right, the comments of Paul Maneri. Yeah, nobody knows what's going to happen. If they can keep those two corner infielders, though, who are freshmen, I mean, those are two good guys to build around, I would say.
I agree.
But if you're South Carolina, can you keep them? I would think, Hollins is a legacy to the university, his dad having played there. Scobie's not, and I imagine Scobie is going to get a bunch of offers after this season from places like Tennessee and elsewhere around the SEC, so they better keep a close watch on him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we go to recruiting now here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawells. course, the plumber, he was off last night. He's lucky to have a job, but he's back tonight. And Bergie did a great job. He gave the menu like it's never been given before. He sang the menu.
No, I don't.
He sang the menu. And a roast beef Friday. That's how he wrapped it up.
I'll do it again. I want to hear.
And a roast beef Friday. So go ahead. What we got?
Tomorrow, Southern Fried Chicken, as always, sausages and peppers and onions. Sausages with peppers and onions, excuse me. Fried flounder fillets and lasagna. And then do you want to hear Friday?
Yes.
Do you know what Friday is?
It's a roast beef Friday.
It is a roast beef Friday with pulled barbecue pork and shrimp Alfredo.
And he didn't mess it up either when he did it. He was smooth, like a newborn baby's behind. Perfectly smooth.
Do you touch a lot of those?
No comment. All right, and of course,
well done, Josh.
For Seawell's Catering, give them a call at 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. A few notes for you. Clemson target, linebacker Caleb Gordon, offered by Arkansas. Cornerback Danny Odom has Clemson in his top 8, with Oklahoma, Georgia, Syracuse, Penn State, Florida, Nebraska, and Miami. Offensive tackle Dom Harris, Las Vegas, who has offers from Clemson and USC, was offered by Oregon. South Carolina offered 2027 offensive tackle Abram Eisenhower, 6'5", 280, Valdosta, Georgia. USC offensive line coach Lonnie Teasley was over at Clennon today, checking out offensive guard Trey Aiken and some others. Speaking of Danny Odom, by the way, he was just offered by Ohio State. Did not have Ohio State in his top 8. That could change now that he has the offer by Ohio State. Dutch Fork wide receiver Stone Furry was offered by Marshall. South Carolina offered 2027 running back Traynard Roberts of IMG Academy. So there you go. Just a few notes on the recruiting front tonight here on Sports Talk. Coming up, a special guest joins us here. Once again, Gary Gilmore will be coming up next on Sports Talk. Don't go away.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Not cooling down too much this evening. Muggy conditions, a low of 67. Tomorrow we're warmer. The blend of sunshine and clouds and a high up to 89. And for Friday, mostly cloudy, a high all the way to 92. For the weekend, mostly cloudy again. 20% chance we get rain Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your Our Point local weather.
Hey y'all, it's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We're introducing the Wing and a Prayer Wednesday special. Purchase an order of wings and a drink and get a free gift card for the arcade. We have some of the most mouth-watering jumbo wings like flamethrower hot wings, barbecue wings, teriyaki wings, honey mustard wings, terry hot wings. You can get a half dozen for $9.95 or a dozen for $18.95. Served with celery and choice of dressing. So come join us at Flight Deck Restaurant to enjoy some great jumbo wings and lots of fun in our new and improved arcade. And we at Flight Deck Restaurant thank y'all and God bless.
Qatar. With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Missouri lawmakers have approved a referendum seeking to repeal an abortion rights amendment passed by voters 6 months ago. The Republican-led Senate voted Wednesday to place a new amendment on the statewide ballot that would instead impose a ban on most abortions with exceptions for rape and incest. The vote came after the GOP majority used a rare procedural move to cut off debate by Democrats who opposed the measure. President Trump is urging Qatar to use its influence over Iran to persuade the country's leadership to reach an agreement with the U.S. over its rapidly advancing nuclear program. Trump is visiting Qatar as part of a 3-country Mideast swing. He made the appeal during a state dinner held Wednesday in his honor. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 89 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Hey, this is Kev with my good friend Ken from over at Broker Solar, and he really is a good friend. I've known Ken's family for more than 20 years. All right, so how many people lost power for an extended time back when we had that hurricane come through here, right? You got the solution though, Ken, the solar-powered batteries.
The battery with solar system is essential. Not only can you back up your loads in an emergency event like a power outage, but you can also control the peak times that you use power, and the batteries can kick in to supplement your power usage. With our solar batteries, you can back up the home just like a generator would, but run it off the clean energy from the sun, which we get every single day. So no need to refill the gas, propane tanks, all powered by the sun.
Remember, Broker Solar is local. You make the call, the investment is worth it. How do the Point listeners find you over at Broker Solar, Ken?
The best way is going to be through brokersolar.com. Plenty of contact us buttons, but the phone number to reach us at would be 803-807-7417.
It's painting season in the Midlands, and Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovation sets the tone for inspired living. Watch your home change from ordinary to outstanding with colors that liven every wall and craftsmanship you can trust. Michael and his team are fully licensed, bonded, and insured. They care for every detail inside and out of your home. Let's give your home the style and care it deserves. Call 922-5615. Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovations, where every project reflects pride.
Want to hear my success story? I'm Fran Halloran, the money coach. I'm celebrating a decade of partnering with The Point. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. I've used The Point to significantly grow my small business. It started with a meeting with Kevin Cohen. Do you own a small business? Are you on a limited budget? No problem. Reach out to Kev at 563-8558. Get a customized plan and start your journey to business growth with The Point today. Success is one call away. Take the leap.
Columbia, we need to talk. Some of these local roofers are not so local anymore. A private equity firm just swooped in, bought out some of our local roofing companies. While some of their websites might still say hometown service, their bank account's now headquartered half a country away. At Bergen Roofing, they don't answer to some out-of-state investors. They answer to you, our neighbors. Bergen is still the same trusted, family-owned business that's been serving Columbia for years. Not some corporate-controlled outfit where the profits come before the people. Some of these private equity guys are also charging cancellation fees, have multiple pages of fine print legalese. Bergen doesn't need a cancellation fee because their work, their reputation, it speaks for itself. No hidden fees, no fine print, just honest work from a team that's been here for decades. Bergen Roofing, where your home, your money, and your trust stay right here in Columbia. Call Bergen, your neighborhood roofer, today. Locally, not some corporate office in a big city skyscraper. 798-ROOF. That's 798-ROOF.
All right, Coach Gary Gilmore coming up in just a second here on Sports Talk. Celtics and the Warriors, as the NBA, of course, continues. You got the Celtics and the Knicks now underway. Celtics and the Warriors have appeared in the NBA Finals a combined 8 times in the last 10 years, both facing elimination tonight. And whether you think the Boston home crowd can help out their team force a Game 6, or if you think it's Jalen Brunson's time to shine, you can put your opinions to the test by placing your entries at UnderdogFantasy.com. Choose higher or lower than 26.5 points for Jimmy Butler, 3.5 3-pointers for Anthony Edwards, or 30.5 combined points and assists for Jaylen Brown. And don't forget, you can also play fantasy with Major League Baseball, PGA Championship, NASCAR, and more. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com and register with your promo code SportsTalkBonus to claim your free pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The only way to claim your free pick and bonus cash is by using the promo code SportsTalkBonus. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates and terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.com. All right, great to have back with us here on Sports Talk. Normally, up until the end of last year, we'd be talking balls and strikes and wins and losses and tournaments and all that. But you know what? He's now chilling as the retired baseball coach from Coastal Carolina. We welcome in Coach Gary Gilmore to Sports Talk for a little catch-up interview. How are you, sir?
I'm doing outstanding. Bill, how about yourself?
We are doing great, and you sound great. First of all, as always, how are you feeling?
Oh, I feel outstanding. You know, nothing's changed as of right now. You know, I've had a couple procedures here over the last few months, and go back to Denver to my cancer doctor end of May, and hopefully he has good news for me that we're continuing down the right path, and we'll just keep defying all the odds.
Oh, absolutely. And everything looks good. They're telling you everything looks as good as it can look?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, things are relatively stable. You know, I theoretically can never get rid of what I have. So, you know, we basically have to just try to manage it and keep it from getting out of control. And, you know, for 5.5 years, they've done an amazing job.
Yeah. Well, it's an amazing story. Are you aware of what has been going on with Jim Toman?
Yes, I am. About, if I'm not mistaken, today he was supposed to have brain surgery, correct?
I just got a note from his daughter, and she said the surgery went as the doctor had hoped. They were able to remove everything he saw, and they're going to be sending things off to pathology for confirmation on things. They're calling it, is it glioblastoma?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the term. I just knew, you know, my devotion group on Monday, they had said that. I hadn't heard it until then, so I'd reached out to her as well, and you know, she texted back and forth with me a couple of times.
Yeah, he's hoping to be discharged on Friday. So,
oh, that's amazing! Holy cow,
it's incredible.
Yeah, ICU for one day, then a regular room for another day, in hopes of being discharged on Friday. That means going home, right? That means going home and and hopefully recovering if you can recover from all this.
Amazing.
It is.
Holy cow.
Let's hope for the best. Well, let's turn it up to a cheerier side of things. What about Coastal Carolina? They don't even miss you at Coastal Carolina.
Yeah. No, man, shoot, they've done amazing things. Kevin and the staff have done great things. We had the misfortune there in my last 2 years. We had 7 guys between that either got Tommy John or labrum surgery, and we, to their credit, 6 of them came back this year, and I tell you, they've done great things, resurrecting those guys, and they may have some of the best starting pitching in the country.
Well, that's the thing we've heard from the very beginning about this team this season is how deep their pitching is, and how that pitching could take them a long, long way.
Yeah, oh, no doubt. No, if they pitch it well and pitch it and catch it, they obviously the offense is good. It's not what it has been in the past, power wise, speed wise, etc. But they seem to find ways to score enough. When you don't have to score quite as many, it's amazing. Your offense looks a whole lot better than maybe it is.
And Bodine's a pretty good catcher, huh?
Oh, just a little bit. Just a little bit. He's pretty special.
If you don't have a good catcher, I mean, that really is. If you have an issue at your catching position, that can really take down your whole team. Is that your experience from your coaching days? It being kind of weak at that position is a major handicap for the whole team.
Oh, it devastates you. It's like not having a good point guard in basketball or having a good quarterback in football. They handle the ball every pitch basically. And when you don't have a guy that can stay healthy first and foremost, but also has great ability. I mean, he came in as an amazing thrower and blocker and some things, and Kevin's done some great things with him with refining his ability to receive the baseball. He's got to be one of the best guys at stealing the borderline pitches in the whole country, and it just I'm sure that whole staff, I mean, the confidence in him, is so high and so big. It just makes a huge difference when you have a guy like that. The team. So many teams that when their leader is their catcher, there's a little bit of a toughness factor that comes into play there, and the whole 9 yards. And Bo was all of the above. He's a major team guy, great culture guy in the locker room, and one if not the hardest worker on the team. At least he was when I was around him, and I'm sure it hasn't changed at all. And he's that guy, not very rah-rah, whatever. He just goes out and plays, and lets his abilities, show on the field. And he's a winner. He's a guy that wants to play really well when it matters. And in the past, he has always been, the last couple of years, he's been one of our best guys when it mattered in the playoffs.
So you're retired now. I mean, are you taking a break from baseball? Are you going to every game, or maybe are you going watch your grandkids or going fishing or something? Game. Oh, you haven't been to a game?
I have not been to a game and haven't been to a practice. It's just kind of. I've been out there for 29 years. Last thing I really wanted to do was be a burden to them by hanging around and this and that. So, it's been good. It's just I have to. It's one of those things. If you keep going back out there and this and that, it's just tough to completely break away and figure out other things in life to do. And I still love the kids and the coaching staff and all the things about Coastal baseball. Those things will never change. But as far as me being ultra involved, it just kind of feels, or at least felt to me like it'd be a little bit of weird, out there, go to a game. Where in the world do I go? I don't want to go. I don't want to go sit in the damn seat. That'd be weird as hell. So, heck, I drew every inch of that stadium when we built it. I didn't draw a place where I could sit when I retired.
That's great.
That's great. It's heck, it's good. I think we will always, that group of coaches and I'll always be best friends with them. And I know that they know that I'd love to be there, but I think also they appreciate the fact that I stay away and let them just do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Coach, if security ever gives you a hard time about trying to get back in the stadium, just remind them that you out on the outfield wall, that 14, that's me. And take it from there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I think if I did go to a game, I'd have to probably just stay over there in the maintenance area with all them guys. So, yeah, no doubt. Absolutely.
You were talking about injuries earlier, Coach, especially to the pitching staff, and the job that Jacob Morrison has done this season. Is this the guy you anticipated when you recruited him to bring him to campus, considering the injury he went through last year? He has been lights out as Coastal's ace basically on Friday nights or Thursdays. He's just been incredible.
Well, if one thing people don't realize is that, in 22 when we he was a freshman with Liam Doyle, who might be the first guy in the draft. And this coming time, Jacob Morrison was a way better pitcher than Liam Doyle at the time. And those two guys were roommates. And, Jacob tore his Tommy John about 3/4 of the way through the season. And then, they told him if he could withstand whatever, he could try to pitch in a regional, on a low pitch count deal or whatever, if he could stand the pain. And he wanted to do it so bad, and we got in that losers bracket, and we tried to throw him, and it just didn't go good because he just couldn't. He wasn't himself. But he was pitching. He started out pitching on Saturdays about midway through the year, and then moved him to Friday. He was our Friday night guy as a freshman. So last year's team, I look at, you look at him, Potok, Horn, all these guys, Lynch, all these guys that are doing so well. If they'd all been healthy last year, man, I don't know, first off, that we'd have ended up on the road in a regional, and second, we'd have been a handful. There's no, because offensively that team was pretty doggone good. We we just didn't have enough pitching depth at that point. And I'm happy that I'm happy first off for the program, but mostly for the kids. I mean, because Jacob's one of my, you don't pick and choose who your favorite guys are, so to speak, as a coach, but it was hard to not have him be one of your best guys and your favorite guys, because he was the most dedicated, hardest worker, the greatest culture builder, example setter of the whole pitching staff as a freshman. And then when he got hurt, I mean, it was insane, his rehab protocol and all the things that he did. I mean, that guy stays healthy, he'll pitch in the big leagues. Bodine will play in the big leagues. It's as much about their ability as it is, or their makeup, as it is about their ability. They're both incredible human beings.
When you guided the Chanticleers to the World Series and the National Championship back in 2017, the one thing, if I remember correctly, about that team is it led the country in home runs, but also led the country in sacrifice hits. This year's team, 51 home runs, 82 stolen bases, and 39 sacrifice hits to go along with 30 sac flies. Does this year's team remind you of that squad in any way?
I mean, it's nowhere. I mean, you look at, if I looked at it, the three starters, we really didn't have a legit lockdown third starter like they have on this team. The things that we have, in my mind, they don't have. They don't have Bobby Holmes out of the bullpen, who's one of the best guys in the country. Mike Morrison, who was either tied or led the country in saves and had an under 1 ERA as a closer. They don't have those two pieces. They've got guys that fill those roles, or just, and I'm not saying they're not good. They're just, those two guys were insanely good. And, the power piece is, it's a completely, it's a different type makeup team power wise. I mean, we had 4 guys hit 18 home runs apiece or more. They're not going to have anybody come close to that.
Right.
So that part of their game is just different. They're 3 starters, and they're top 7 or 8 guys. How they mix them and match them, there's a lot of similarities there. We had Beckwith and Cunningham. We had 2 really good frontline starters that would, you look at Beckwith, what is he, 15-1 with a 1 point something ERA. That's pretty impressive. Morrison's got a 1 something ERA. I think he's got either 8 or 9 or 10. I can't remember. I lost count of how many wins he has at this point. So, he may end up with a whole bunch and be the same kind of guy. So, there are a lot of similarities. I think there are, some differences or whatever. Only time will tell at the end of the day. You know how it is. At this time in 2016, when we were just licking our wounds from getting our ass beat from Georgia Tech in a 3-game series, and we weren't sure where we were going, and we turned around and I think won 16 out of the next 18 games to win a national championship. So, at the end of the day, it's about how you play from this day forward, and I'm obviously pulling for them and hoping they can pull it off. It's, I do think the one thing that I have noticed, and just kind of dibble-dabbling in watching it and looking up numbers and this and that here and there in some spare time, is there's just not a team this year that is a Tennessee from last year. There's nobody that's just so much better than everybody else that I can see. There's no one that has just insane personnel that are just better than everybody else. Whoever gets put in the number 1 in the SEC, that's the curse of all, because you're going to get swept the next weekend. It seems like that's how it all goes in that league. That's the worst thing you can do, is get put in that number 1 slot, because somebody's going to knock you off of it. And it's just interesting to me to look around and look at. I don't know if it's parity that you call it or whatever, but I don't see a super team out there at this point. And I think whoever wins it moving forward is going to be similar in a way that we were able to do, is you just get on a roll and you just keep going. And you just play exceptionally well, you could be a 15th or 25th seed, and you get on a roll, you're good enough to do damage, because you got some teams in the SEC, especially that have, heck, man, one week, like I said, they're first, second, third in the country, and 2 weeks later they're 16th or 18th, because they won 1 out of 5. So it's just no one has been able to do. I mean, Tennessee was. They were the team from day one last year till the end. They were the best team and played the best, and I just haven't seen anyone else get on a roll and just be able to keep it going.
Well, we look forward to seeing you Monday night, induction ceremonies for the Hall of Fame. Keep in mind, they kind of limit you to about 4 minutes on that speech, so prepare.
Yeah.
Coach Jeffrey sits down there. He throws a yellow flag if you go over like 4 minutes. So.
Oh, yeah, they already told me they're going to throw a flag on me for delay a game.
Pitch clock violation, Coach. Pitch clock.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you.
Violation. Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you, and thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Oh, same here, man.
Thanks,
I
Coach.
love you guys. You and Chris are amazing. Keep promoting college sports, and especially college baseball, man. We need to keep that thing on the hot burner and keep it at the forefront of college sports.
You got it.
Great game, and we appreciate all you do for us.
Thank you, sir. Good hearing from you. Gary
Thanks,
Gilmore,
Coach.
and we'll be back in a moment.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is right around the corner here in the Palmetto State. As you get ready for this spring and summer, make sure your registration sticker is up to date and you have a copy of your registration card on board your boat. For more information on boat registration and answers to common questions, visit dnr.sc.gov.
George Bryan here with Tsunami Bar Sports and some great spring golf news. If you're ready to mash your tater, I think you need a Laginator. And if you want to get more speed and crack the whip, it's time for a mini stick. So TsunamiBarSports.com, GB10 to get 10% off the Laginator and the mini stick. That's TsunamiBarSports.com, GB10 for 10% off.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
Wide open, somebody pour me a drink, somebody pour me a smoke. I'm about to get on a buzz, I'm about to get on a roll. Yeah, I've been breaking my back, just keeping up with the Joneses. Y'all know what I mean, and y'all know how it goes when it's up on a Friday night.
All right, thanks again to Coach Gilmore for being with us tonight. Always great hearing from him. Glad to hear he's doing so well. And I'm hoping the news that we got tonight on Coach Toman is, I don't know how to interpret it. I mean, I guess maybe there'll be more to come once they send everything off to be checked further, and we'll know more. So you cross your fingers and just hope for the best in that case. Here's another Here are a couple of other college notes. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips said the recent Clemson-Notre Dame annual series the schools added does not count toward the 5 games the Irish must play annually against ACC teams this year. That's coming out of the ACC meetings. And another legal note here related to NIL and the colleges, and this is in Louisiana. Schools in Louisiana can now directly pay college athletes without fear of NCAA penalties after the governor issued an executive order. It remains in effect until there is federal legislation or college athlete NIL compensation or the House settlement is approved. I'm starting to wonder if that House settlement's going to get approved in its current state because, I mean, the judge –
I don't think so. She
keeps sending it back or she wants – something done with the roster situation, and they've not. This thing was supposed to be done a long time ago. And
I've got a quick question, not to backtrack, but I think this is interesting. And by the way, I'm glad Coach corrected me. 2016 was when they won the national championship, not 2017. But what is the end game for Notre Dame here with this Clemson series? Where's the value for them if they still have to go out and play 5 ACC games to maintain their, toe in the water with the league, and it's easier for them to get into the playoffs by just winning games? Why would you want to take on a challenge like Clemson as one of the best teams in the ACC unless you had to? I don't quite understand Notre Dame's thinking on this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play somebody, and
right.
This has become a good rivalry over the years,
but isn't it easier to go out and play Boston College every year?
Yeah, but I think if you beat Clemson,
maybe.
let's just say you look at it from the standpoint you're Notre Dame, you beat Clemson. I mean, that's going to really help you when it comes to the committee and the seeds that we were just talking about, and maybe being seeded high enough to get one of those first-round buys. Now that we've established that there's still going to be first-round buys,
right?
After rereading that thing. That's the only thing I can think about. Quality wins. It gives them a chance both ways. It gives Clemson a chance for a quality win.
I get that, but I just don't think quality wins are more important than volume of wins. I mean, we proved that last year. Just go out and win games. It doesn't matter who you beat.
Well,
go 12-0 and you're in.
Maybe some of that's going to be changing now with the new process that they're going to go through.
Hope so.
All right, that'll do it. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.